Hello everyone and welcome to the public information meeting presentation for the Land Use Bylaw Map Amendment for PID 55552640 Ernst Drive in Aylesford. My name is Perry Bowman and I am the planner assigned to this application. The applicant for this application is Eric Morse and Tim Harding is the councillor for District 5. So the purpose of this presentation is to inform the public of the application, to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur, and receive preliminary feedback, noting that no opinions have been formed on the application at this time and no decisions have been made. So this is the Land Use Bylaw Map Amendment process. We've received a completed application and are now at the public information meeting phase, which is step 1. So we had a meeting regarding the application where we received public comment and concerns and questions. Following that meeting, I undertake a staff review, which includes requesting any additional information from the applicant and referring the application out to all relevant authorities with jurisdiction. Following that, I make a recommendation to the Planning Advisory Committee, who will then forward their recommendation to the full Municipal Council at first reading. Following first reading, there is a public hearing, which is an opportunity for the public to speak to Council once I've made another presentation to the full Council. Following the public hearing, there is a second reading where the full Municipal Council will make a decision on the application. Following that decision, there is a 14-day appeal period. So, in respect to the proposal, the application is for a land use bylaw map amendment to rezone the subject property from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential mixed density R3 zone to permit the development of 3 semi-detached dwellings and 24 townhouse units. The municipality's land use bylaw breaks down dwelling types into different land uses, which is why we are distinguishing between semi-detached houses semi-detached dwellings versus townhouses. But in total, there are 30 residential units proposed across the two forms on the site. So the residential mixed density zone, which is proposed, does not allow for a greater density of units on the land. It simply provides for a greater flexibility in terms of built form options. So I will note that the plan on the screen has not been approved, and this application does not approve any form of development. I am only considering a rezoning, but the reason we do ask from the applicant information on what they're proposing is so that I can assess the land use conflicts or the potential for land use conflicts. So this is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings. The red circle indicates the approximate location of the subject site within the community of Aylesford. This is an aerial image of the subject site. I will note that the aerials are slightly outdated in that all of Percy Court has been developed with semi-detached dwellings. The subject site is approximately 4.4 acres in area and located on the southern side of Ernst Drive. It has 2 areas of street frontage, one of those being between 1032 and 1056 Ernst Drive, and the other being between 1010 and 1020 Ernst Drive. This is a zoning map of the subject site and surrounds. So the site is currently located within the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone. The R2 zone permits, as of right, 1 unit dwellings, 2 unit dwellings, semi-detached dwellings, and group dwellings on the land. The land to the south and further to the west is located in the rural mixed use A2 zone. So this is the future land use designation map. A designation identifies what the overall intent of the land is, and if changes are proposed to be made, what those changes can be. So the subject site and surrounding land to the east, north, and west is located in the residential designation. The Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.3 states that all residential zones are permitted within the residential designation, meaning the Municipal Planning Strategy does not prohibit the rezoning of the land from the residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zone to the residential mixed density zone or R3 zone if all other policy components are met. The land to the south is located in the agricultural designation. So this is a hypothetical map showing what the zoning would look like if this application is successful, with the R3 zone covering the subject site. So this is an image taken from Ernst Drive looking at the subject property between 1032 and 1056 Ernst Drive. Obviously the site is highly vegetated at the moment, so it's not easy to see a lot. But there is a track that has been created down the centre of the property in the approximate location of where the new road is proposed. This is the eastern boundary of the site between the Percy Court homes and the subject site. These are the dwellings that front Percy Court, with the site in the rear where the trees are. And this is standing on that track down the centre of the property facing back towards Ernst Drive. So once again, looking at the proposal, I am ultimately assessing an application for rezoning. But one part of that assessment is to consider land use conflicts. So this is why we advise or require the applicant to advise us of not only their requested zone change, but what they also propose to use the land for in the future. So in this case, again, it's townhouses and semi-detached dwellings. The applicant has advised that building townhouses has been proposed in order to reduce the cost, in order to make the homes more affordable for families. So once again, this application does not propose to approve development. We only require information on the proposed development so that we can address land use conflicts. So on this slide, I will be talking about a range of things, but I will note that they are not ordinarily considered through this planning application process. The reason I'm discussing them is that I've had a few questions emailed to me from the public regarding density of dwellings on the site. So these are the zone requirements for the residential 1 and 2 unit zone, or R2 zone, and the proposed residential mixed density R3 zone. So in terms of density, that is generally determined by the lot area or minimum lot area and the minimum lot frontage. So those two factors put together determine how many buildings you can fit on a site in this form of proposal. So when we look at both the R2 and the R3 zone for semi-detached dwellings and townhouses, you will note that the minimum lot size of 2,000 square feet per unit is the same. Additionally, the minimum lot frontage per unit of 20 feet is the same. So regardless of whether this application is successful, the developer has the option to proceed forwards with developing 30 residential units, but not in townhouse form. So moving back to the policy that enables this application, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.3 states that Council shall consider amendments to any one of the zoning maps of the land use bylaw, provided the application is for a specific development, which we've been advised is to develop townhouses and semi-detached dwellings, and is to rezone land to another enabled within the same designation. So as advised before, the residential designation allows for all residential zones within it. Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.5 states that Council shall consider in relation to all applications to rezone land. Point A, the applicable zone placement policies, including any specific policy criteria for applying the proposed zone set out within the strategy. Point B, the impact of both the specific development proposal and of any other possible uses permitted through the proposed zone. And point C, the general criteria for amending the land use bylaw set out in section 5.3, development agreements, and amending the land use bylaw. So in respect to the zone placement policy, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 3.1.2 sets out that lands located in the residential mixed density zone are intended to provide a transition between areas of low and high density, or on properties that would benefit from flexible development options, including diversity of building forms. This zone is intended to include residential units in a variety of building types at a density consistent with residential 1 unit R1 zone and residential 1 and 2 unit R2 zones. In respect to the general criteria, firstly, before I go through these, I will note that the County of Kings is not always the assessing authority. So in the case that the County of Kings is not the assessing authority, we refer the application out for further comment. So we have to consider if the proposal is in line with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. Does the proposal conflict with any municipal, provincial programs, bylaws or regulations? Will there be any financial impact on the municipality? Typically, this is incurred if new infrastructure is required. Will there be any land use compatibility issues? Are there adequate schools, recreation and communal facilities within proximity to the site? Will there be any traffic hazards or congestion caused? Are there adequate fire protection services and equipment available? Are there adequate sewer and water services available? Is there the potential for flooding or serious drainage problems? Will there be any negative impacts on farming operations? And is the site suitable? So once again, this is the land use bylaw map amendment process, and we are at the very first step of the public information meeting. Following the public information meeting, I will undertake a review, including referring the application out to any referral authorities and requesting any additional information that may be required from the applicant. Following that, I will make a recommendation to the Planning Advisory Committee, who will forward a recommendation to the full Municipal Council at first reading. Following first reading, there is a public hearing where I will make a presentation to the full Municipal Council, and the public is welcome to have their say as well. Following the public hearing, there is a second reading where the full Municipal Council will make its final decision. And following that decision, there is a 14-day appeal period. So if anyone has any comments or questions, please feel free to give me a call on 902-690-6150, or you can email me at pbowman@countyofkings.ca. Thank you.